che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, incaricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno si è avverato, è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
Gol è un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare una performance diversa perché sto rappresentando.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and yes, try to stay awake because the best show around is brought to you here on YouTube. So with me, the best host, as I keep repeating, and it's true, best host you could ever hope for. We have here Lab Gorilla here with us. How are you doing, John?
Ciao, buongiorno a tutti, and buona Pasqua. Happy Easter to everyone. Today is a big day for those of us who are Christians. So I would say we've got a lot to cover, hasn't he? I think we need a little bit of explanation regarding a thumbnail, don't we, Hasni?
Yeah.
Because it's a very funny one. But I would say, yeah, guys, we've got a lot to cover. Let's say, oh look, we already can see Cacciavit, buongiorno. Kim, buonasera, buona Pasqua. Oh, yes, of course, it's evening for them. So good evening to you as well, Kim. And Gunardi, hello. No, we're looking forward to this one. It's a good discussion. I think we're going to come back to full force next week. Shane will rejoin us next week, taking a bit of a rest, which is fair enough. And yeah, Hasni, why don't we do this share and then we have a bit of a discussion regarding the thumbnail.
All right, let's get into it.
Right, Hasni, so how come we got a prince on a horse?
Well, yeah, I was talking, so we have a small little chat group between a few of us on the WhatsApp, and yeah, I went riding, and I don't know whether it's related. I was actually in the hospital a few days ago due to a bit of a chest issue. But yeah, I think what this thumbnail is really about is that we are waiting for a very rich guy riding a horse to come and buy up this club. Isn't that right?
That's right. So we combined the wanting a Malaysian prince to come and buy us out with Hasni's riding incident, and yes, get well soon, Hasni. You're a little bit sore today, aren't you, mate? But you got the all clear in terms of anything else, so that's good news. Carlo, buongiorno to you as well, sir. Great. So let's get started, Hasni. Yeah. So we move to the next slide, then. Yeah. Move to the next one. Let's have a look here. Right, guys. The league constellation, all the clubs, all the teams. This is where we started. This is how it moved. And this is our current position today. So, Juventus.
John, for those on listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, yeah, we just might need to.
Yes, absolutely.
Great point. On screen. Yeah.
Great point. So I'll describe this one. So what it was showing the images of the clubs competing for top four, as they say. And we're just finishing up now on an image that shows that Juventus is on +8 from us, Bologna +6, Roma +6, Lazio +5, Fiorentina +2. The big result really is yesterday. Roma beat Hellas Verona. I think it was 1-0 with a 4th-minute goal, and they held on till then. Bologna today have a huge game against Inter Milan. That should be interesting. Juventus have a game against Parma. Lazio have a game against Genoa. Fiorentina against Cagliari. And we have Atalanta tonight. And it's the game that we're going to preview first. If you look at the run-in, we've got some really interesting games coming up. I would say we did predict that Juventus were going to start pulling away because of their schedule, and it kind of looks like it's happening. And
And the new manager
The,
Bounce, I think, has a part to play in that.
I think so as well. Tudor has done a pretty solid job, but we'll see if they can hold on to that. We have to get through. We've obviously not done very well. We lost to Napoli, we drew Fiorentina, we beat Udinese. So it's a complete mixed bag of a mess. We did, however, change formation against Udinese, and we'll talk about that because this is the formation we are deploying going forward. A lot of the Italian press is talking about is this going to work against tougher teams, and we'll soon find out. So, happy with that description, Hasni? Ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but just to add on, I think in
yeah,
terms of the positions, we are seeing a lot of movement in the teams above us. It's just us that seems to be stuck in this place.
yeah,
So, as much
yeah.
as very optimistic people would like to say that we're climbing up, it's not like other teams are standing still. So yeah, just to put that into perspective a little bit.
That is a great point. I mean, if you think about it, Roma last night winning 1-0, Napoli winning 1-0. First of all, Napoli winning really kept the league very, very interesting, which I'm very glad in terms of watching the spectacle and also the fact that Inter cannot take the foot off the accelerator. Roma winning is just incredible. The run and they're on. I think someone said 17 games unbeaten or something like that. They are such a special team now. And I've got to say, Claudio Ranieri, once he goes and he's been completely open to the press, saying, if I was here for another year, it'd be a year wasted for them. He's just such a gentleman, and I wish nothing but the best. Of course, I have a soft spot for Roma, but still, I would say incredible. Have you got anything to say about Roma, Hasni, in terms of how they've been doing?
Yeah. So when the managerial shakeup happened towards the end of last year, I think Ranieri came on just before we switched over to Conceição, I think. So at that point, if I'm not mistaken, Roma were actually below us. But do you see in terms of making the right changes with the players that you have, what sort of improvement does it make for a team like them? Because uh, I I would believe, and many others would do as well, that Roma shouldn't really be in this competition for a top four for European place. That should be us. But lo and
Mm,
behold, we're at ninth. Everyone else is really battling out for which spot in Europe they want to get into.
yeah, it's Dovbik, I think, also got Player of the Month in Serie A last month. So I think he was given that award just before this game against Verona. So no, you're right. It's about making the change at the right time, which is going to actually enable the team to do better. And we did not, as always. It's part of the topic today, isn't it, though, hasn't he? So let's move on to
Sure
the next one.
is.
It sure is. Right. So the league table, here we are. It's very interesting. Napoli now have caught up with Inter. They're on 71 points as well. So 20 clear points away from us. They obviously, Inter have a game in hand today, and it's against Bologna. So there will be points dropped there. But Bologna, I make it clear again, Bologna 6 points clear of us. And when we look at the league table, Juventus are on 59 points. We really have to, from a Milan perspective, there's no choice there, is there, Husney? If you don't win this, I don't know, the mathematics are going to become impossible pretty much. But again, I said it last week. We've all said it last week. You're in dreamland, and you made the point earlier on, Husney. It might look like we're catching up, but actually, other teams are moving too. No one's going to stand still. They all want this fourth place. It's not just us that wants it. Um, and the big news, I guess, looking at this is that Lazio lost to Bodo Glimt in the Europa League, which means that Serie A is confirmed as having lost that fifth place in the Champions League, any possibility of it. So it's only top four that's going to make Champions League. So I think that's the nail in the coffin. You might say slight glimpse if Milan, if Europe got, if Serie A got 5 places in the Champions League, but we don't. We are looking at the lowest league position, I think, if I am correct, even since the Yong Hong Lee, banter era. Any comments on that, Hasni?
Yeah, so peak Banter era, and a few games ago we reviewed our league position, and as expected, it's not even a matter of it being within reach or on the fringes of possibility. It's you just got to write it off. So if you
Yeah.
do want to get into European place, it has to be the Coppa Italia. I don't know how we ended up in the semi-finals, but we're still there with Inter. And
Yeah.
I guess on the positive side, for us, that Inter still has that game to play in the Champions League. Not positive overall because they're doing quite well. I mean, you have to really admit that our rivals are doing well, and we aren't.
Yes. Great.
So
Thanks, Hosni. Great point.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we're
Let's
not
give credit where it's due. Yeah.
yeah. So we're not really looking to get into a European place through the back door. It has to be side door through the Copa. And that's a big if there, if we do make it to the finals. Now, if we do make it to the finals, I think one of the contenders, if I'm not mistaken, is Bologna, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we might be up against Bologna, and yeah, Bologna also have a lot to play for. If they don't make the fourth spot, then they obviously do still want to win the Copa and make it to the Europa League, as do we. But of course, for us, that's probably our best avenue if you still want to see European football. But other than that, what glimpse of light or glimpse of hope do we have? Really nothing. Look at these games being played. Look at our opponents. Look at the opponents of our other rivals at this stage. It's a vastly different game, and as many people on the internet also say, is that there are levels to this, yeah, and we are not anywhere near the top level. Nor, I think, in my opinion, are we in the mid level. Yeah, we're definitely at the bottom here.
Yeah, I would say quite readily we're underperforming massively. We're probably the biggest underperforming team in the top 10. Um, I think everyone else is performing to the level they should be, pretty much. And as you would predict, probably, um, we're the ones that are just way, way, way below. Even if you look at the playing staff, we should be doing better. I think with a better manager, with a properly run club, Milan should not be ninth. And I would comfortably say that. I'm not here to rubbish the entire squad. I think the playing staff are better than ninth position. They're just not. They're not playing to the best of their abilities. I would argue with any Milan fan that's telling me that the playing staff is shite and that is why we're ninth. It isn't just that. Of course, we've got holes in many positions, but you can squeeze the best out of a team, as Napoli's showing, as Bologna are showing, as Roma are showing. And one thing to say here: if we don't win today, if we lose today to Atalanta, there's a potential that eighth and above are going to break away because Fiorentina 2 points clear. They could go to 55 points and then they'll be over 5 points. They could go to 56 points and they would break away by 5 points from us. And that basically almost puts the nail in the coffin in terms of reaching European places through the league. As you said, Hasni, it will all come down to Coppa d'Italia. Now, let's give credit where it is due. Inter beat Bayern. A bit of an incredible performance, if you ask me. I thought they would get found out. After that first half, which finished 0-0, I thought Inter, Bayern were going to score because they were banging on the door. Bayern did score, but just like that, Inter came back and smashed 2 goals in and basically sealed it. It finished 2-2 in the end, but congratulations to Inter. They move on to the semi-final. This is the kind of demonstration. All the headlines in Italy, Hasni, were they are there contending and we are there pretending because we just keep talking.
That's a great way to put it.
Yes, it's a direct translation from some headlines in some Italian podcasts, and it's fair. We are just looking and we're talking about looking and talking about building, talking about selling, but we're doing nothing. Whilst these guys and Inter fans are feeling the joy, the excitement, the stress of real competition. You could say the same for Lazio fans and Fiorentina fans. Fiorentina, congratulations again for moving through to the next phase. Lazio, condolences, but at least you went through, the whole stress of going through, going ahead, then getting pegged back, then going to penalties. That's the sensation of what it feels like to be competing for things. And we don't even have that, which is really sad. And a team and a club like Milan should be feeling that every single season. And again, who I blame. We all blame for this.
As a
And
mentality view, John,
Yes.
just to point it out, is that if we do, and of course, as Milan fans, we want to remain hopeful that at least we do win games. If we do beat Atlanta, that does make the bottom four, the third and fourth place, quite open towards for any takers. Yeah, think about it. Atlanta remain at 61. Juventus
Yes.
can leapfrog them, and then
Yeah.
Bologna and Roma, they're within touching distance of a fourth place again.
Yeah. We would be responsible for opening up that fourth
Yeah.
spot for those clubs, which is just funny. We would be helping Juventus. Oh my god, no. Now you've made me, well, anyway, now you've made me upset. I do not want to help Juventus, man. Okay. And Kachavit says we're battling for the balance sheet Scudetto. I mean,
Oh, we
you're
won
right.
that already. We won at the beginning of the season.
True, pretty much. We're gonna have a discussion about the beginning of the season and stuff, and the long distance. Just cast your mind back when we signed Morata. You remember management? Oh, come on, he became available. We had to do it. The European champions, their captain, we had to bring him in, right? You remember that when people were
I do.
talking about needing a striker? We'll carry on this conversation in just a minute. Right, now, let's do the match preview. Now, to me, this is actually an interesting matchup. Part of it is made interesting because Atalanta are not in great form, but they did pick up a little bit and they beat Bologna 2-0 last week, if I remember correctly. We beat Udinese 4-0. We changed formation, and everything in Italy says we're going to see that formation again. The match is at 7:45 p.m. My time at home. So we shall see that one. Now, let's talk about the lineups. For those of you on Apple Podcast or Spotify, the Milan projected lineup is a 3-4-3 with Magic Mike in goal, who has recovered after last week's scare. In defense, Pavlovic, Gabbia, Tomori. In midfield, in the four, Theo, Reindeer, Fofana, Jimenez. And the three attackers are Rafa Leao, Jovic, and Pulisic. Jovic is predicted to be 60-40 over Tammy Abraham. Jimenez is on the bench. Yes.
I think he started
Again.
the previous game, right, John? Jovic?
I think he might have done, mate.
Yeah,
I think,
I think
but
he did,
but
yeah.
you know, credit to him. He's come in and he has shown a little bit of hunger. But we know the whole story here, hasn't he? We've seen this before. He picks up his form when there's contract talks. I think he hasn't quite understood that this management is not going to do any contract signings unless it's very, very cheap, because they're farting around with quite serious decisions around the sporting side, which we'll talk about in a minute. So that's the Milan setup. Then there is the Atalanta setup under Gasperini, which is 3-4-1-2. So Carnesec in goal, defenders Hien, Toloi, Jim City, midfielders of Zappacosta, De Roon, Ederson, Cuadrado. And then on the one is Pasalic. CDK has just come back from injury, so he will be available, but they all think he's going to be starting from the bench. And then up front, two of the top strikers in the entire league, Lukman and Retegui. Either of them have more goals than any player in our squad. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Matteo Retegui, hasn't he? 23 goals in Serie A in 30 games, 5 assists. What return on an investment of 21 million euros? This is my point about Morata. You remember in the summer, we were screaming. I think we were screaming, saying, "Go get Retegui." You know, he's Italian. He's played for Genoa. He knows the league. He's not scored very well, but he will. He's got all the traits of being a goal scorer that's going to put a lot of goals away. And we saw him with Italy, how easily he could score goals. And he was only available for just over 20 million. And yet Milan thought Morata because it's such an opportunity. And I hate that word that is constantly being utilized by Furlani, which is when he does, when he okays acquisitions, he keeps talking about opportunities. Like opportunity to sell someone, opportunity to buy someone. He just looks for opportunities as opposed to who the best player is for that particular position. Retegui has done an incredible. I mean, he is so many ahead of the next player, which I think is Keane for Fiorentina. Now we're going to have to stop this guy today somehow. And in the last game against Bologna, I don't know what drugs he was on, but if you watch the highlights, he literally just said, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to take over the game and help us to win, and no one is going to stop me." And he literally just took the ball and just smashed through the Bologna defense. It was incredible, incredible performance. Current market value for Retegui is now 45 million, which takes him out of anything that we could potentially touch. I'm sure other clubs are looking at him, potentially even Premier League clubs. What's your opinion on Retegui and the whole saga on him versus Morata?
No, I don't think it was a saga at all with Morata. Morata, we pretty much it was a bit of a wishful thinking. So when Forlani mentions opportunity, let's read behind it. So it was not an opportunity for a good player to be available at a low cost. It's just as opportunity, meaning that he doesn't have an idea what to do. Morata's transfer, you could say, is very similar to what we had did for Giroud. The only difference is that Giroud worked out. Morata didn't. Think about what happened back all the way back when we signed Giroud. Giroud was an aged player. Morata is actually younger. Giroud had a World Cup to him. He had a few major trophies. So we knew that he was a player of some caliber, and he was coming in really to, if I'm not mistaken, when he came in, was supposedly to tide things over until Zlatan could come back full time. But then, as we know, Zlatan is just joking. He's has maybe matchsticks for legs at the moment and always injured. And Giroud gradually got himself into the team, and really, as a number 9, was our default number 9, even at the age of, I think when he came to us, was like, what, 35 maybe. So that worked out. Yeah, against all odds, it worked out. Mr. M&M was still there, and we pulled all the way through to the Scudetto win. Now, when Morata became available, every fan would be very hopeful to think that the same could happen. Morata could be the new Giroud. But if you look at the profile of Morata and how he's been across the various teams, it's not the same player. Definitely not the same player. Giroud had excellent aerial ability. He was a starting striker. Morata, a lot of what I've seen from him was really second striker and came on as a sub really to close out games. So profile-wise, I didn't think he was great. And in the Euros, come on, he wasn't banging in all the goals in the Euros, yeah?
He was
And I think
unnecessary.
yeah. And there were a few moments where he was subbed out. So a lot of wishful thinking, a lot of hope, and for a lot of reasons that many people predicted, it didn't work out. Now, if we were to compare to Retegui and Keane, and I do want to point this out, and I think this is one very good thing about our league is that the top strikers are Italians. Yeah, we don't need to be like other leagues that the top striker is from a different place. So we can keep that level of that caliber, that talent within the league, which is great. But teams like us, and I'm not saying that we're the only ones, but teams like us are not looking at Italian talent for whatever reason. Yeah, we threw out Daniele Maldini, we threw out whoever it is just because of their passport, and there's something wrong there. So that needs to be fixed. This 45 million that you mentioned, John, if we had negotiated and put a lot of faith into this kid, we didn't need to spend all that money on Jimenez. Jimenez is not a bad player. No doubt it's not a bad player. But he came into a team that is currently underperforming by a big margin. So any striker, no matter how good you are, is going to struggle because everyone else is, I don't know, demoralized or out of form. But that being said, if we do need to make a bid for another striker, which I don't think we will, I think Retegui is definitely out of touch, as you've mentioned. Yeah, a lot of teams at the EPL are looking at him, and had a team with a better ambition, just put their ducks in order and got the money together, they'll make a go for this guy. It's just not us.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be quite a job today for our defense to try and stop him. And Lookman is also, by the way, on one of the top strikers. I think he has 13 himself. So it really is such an attacking team, which mirrors what Gasperini's vision is for how teams should play, which is a beautiful way of playing football. Very exciting. But yeah, I think Morata was a huge mistake, and as you said, I think they were just trying to follow the mold of Giroud. I agree, but I don't think he ever had that kind of ability. I mean, remember the first game he played, he showed a lot of hunger. He also showed a bit of grinta, and then after that, he just put his feet up, and it was incredible. And, the most frustrating thing at the end of his tenure with us was the way he was throwing himself on the floor every 2 minutes. Pretty disappointing.
Yeah, and I do
Now,
want to point this out, and
yeah,
it's very important for many people to realize, not only Milan fans, but any other fans of any football team. How often does it happen that you sign a guy, even on a free transfer, then 6 months later you're going to get rid of him?
yeah, I
How
know.
often does that happen? I mean, do we not put any effort into like finding out whether this guy will actually fit into our team? If that happens to a guy like Morata, Morata is not a bad player. I mean, as a second striker or as a third striker, I think he could probably have a place there. But just to throw any player out after 6 months, everyone would think that okay, maybe Milan doesn't have a project, which is true actually.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily say that transfer mercato, the transfer window in the summer was a huge mistake. January's an attempt to try and fix it. Again, fixed it very badly with the wrong people making decisions again. I'm not going to blame Jimenez for anything right now. There's an open discussion in the fan base about what is Jimenez. Is Santi Jimenez actually a decent player or not? And we said it when he first joined us. He's got that hunger from Feyenoord. He's got the confidence from playing at Feyenoord. He started scoring and assisting very quickly. But we said that apathy around the club is a real thing. And unfortunately, it's going to catch up with him at some point because unless he has a very strong personality, he won't be able to resist it. And sure enough, it's happened. Now, the injuries have not helped. On top of that, I still think there's a player in Santi Jimenez. I still think there is one in there, but the problem is it's not under a management that's going to get the best out of him. And I think genuinely, this is a general point around the club. Right now, it doesn't matter who you bring in any position. They will not thrive. So Retegi, this is my argument here, is that the reason he has achieved this number of goals, the reason his value is now shot up, the reason he's so confident, this is good for Italy, the Italian national squad, but that's the only benefit. If he had joined Milan, I guarantee you that would not have been his goal tally because we did not defend well. There's a lot of pressure around the team because we're always conceding goals. We're losing so many games because the setup is such a mess. And I don't even believe that they're training properly. That's how badly I think they're doing. So I think Retegui made the perfect move in going to Atalanta under a very competent manager. And he's enjoying himself because they play the type of football that he wants, So fair enough. Now, just a couple of comments here. Fahadinho is saying, they're different physically, Morata and Retegui and Keane. We should have signed Luca instead, and Cacciavite agrees with him. I mean, of course, but we were not in a position to be looking at Italian players. You all know this, guys. Yeah, and Fahadinho's just posted, this shows management don't understand football or understand players' characteristics versus Milan preferred formation based on player
Yeah,
strengths.
it's true, and we made the comment inside the chat saying that if you were to put the football manager AI, I think you could get more out of this team than than the current management. But
Yeah.
I talk about a lot of young players, and you mentioned Luca, and there were some other talents being mentioned, not only for the forwards but other positions as well. Looking at our club, looking at some of the players that have essentially had their values or their performance completely downgraded or destroyed, and I'm talking about CDK as a recent example. Why would you actually come to Milan? I mean, what can anyone in this management tell you that say that, oh, please come and play for us. We'll pay you what you want. You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to
No.
do it because look at the examples and look at the output and what we've done to certain players. You would have to be scared about your job, number one. And number two, you might end up in a wheelchair and never play
Yeah.
another game in your life. So this is the real worry about having these targets and thinking that maybe we have a chance. I don't think we do. We don't have anything to offer these players. we are Moneyball, which the subtitles read that we just don't want to pay anyone. We don't have a project because we keep changing stuff around and we keep firing. And we have a management that works against the club in the sense that they make mistakes. They're still in the job, but everyone else is left to blame. This
Yeah.
top down, something is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Now you're questioning of why players come to us. Look at Carl Walker's interview. Why did you go to Milan? He said, "Well, come on, you have to go to Milan if you get the offer to go to Milan." But his point is, you read between his lines. I want to go for a bit of a swan song, a bit of a holiday for a few months because Man City are not playing me. He wanted to stay at Man City. Like you watch his comment. I watched his podcast and. He's like, I still talk to guys over there. I'm hoping to make a comeback and so on. But yeah, and when Ibra comes and calls you, this is the last dregs of Milanismo that people are using, this ownership are using to kind of get players enticed to come in. They see that jersey and they think, oh, that must be the big club that it was, it always was. Instead of, because they've got no interest in the club, Hasni, they don't know what's going on at the club. Do you get me? So until an agent comes along and says, hey, look, you got an opportunity to go to Milan, they'll go, oh, geez, that's amazing. It's not like a young Italian who will be like, oh, Jesus, do I want to go to Milan? Because they're a complete mess. Or, I really want to show what I can do at Milan. No, a foreign player will just come in wherever he's paid and not give a shit about it. Yeah, there's a big discussion about injecting Italians back into the club, but again, it shouldn't be injecting Italians for the sake of injecting Italians. That's not how it works. They need to be the right individuals in the right positions. I'm very worried about the current discussion, which is just like random Italians that are being thrown at the wall, and hopefully some will come. It's just that's not how it works, man. This is not how you build a project. Kachavit says, let's see what Italians we sign next season, or I should say what Italians will want to come to us. And Fahadinho says, Hasni management even did the money wrong. Luca is an Italian that knows calcio, way cheaper than Jimenez. Mamma mia. Yeah. It's very frustrating. Right. Let's move on from Retegui because I think that's a huge regret. Now, it'll be very interesting to see what we can do against him today. Right. So this is a stat that I'm going to explain to you in just a minute, but this is an answer to stuff that came out on social media, and you guys know I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on X, but people did send me WhatsApp messages with discussions that people were having, saying that Leao was being compared to Seedorf, was being compared to Kaká, was being compared to Van Basten, and his totals were being used. Now, I think it's completely unfair to compare players from different eras, right? But if you want to sit there and tell me that Leao is world class and he's done better than Van Basten has, I mean, I heard somebody say that, Hasni, and I kind of go, okay, you want to sit there like that, then what I can do is compare different eras as well and show you something different. So what I've done here is looked at end of season total gap to first place that Milan has finished in. So during the Yong Hong Lee era, Milan have a combined 59 points total gap to first place. So Yong Hong Lee was in charge for 2 seasons. I think on both seasons we finished 6th place. So first of all, Redbird are currently in line for finishing lower than at any point during the Yong Hong Lee season. Now, Elliott came along, and of course, they were in charge for 3 seasons, not 2. And during their 3 seasons, during one of them, we won the actual league. So clearly the gap to first place, the points gap to first place was 0. But during their 2 seasons, they only had 44-point gap to first place, the other 2 seasons. Redbird has now come along, and they've been in charge for 3 seasons. Remembering, this season is not over yet. This gap could get even bigger. But they have matched Yong Hong Lee. Right? Their points gap to first place in total during all the seasons they've been in charge is 59 points as well. So if you want to turn around and say to me, Leao is better than this, is better than that, blah, 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 Well, I can turn around to you and show you how dreadful this club is doing right now. Any comment on this, Asni?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to compare um, ownerships. Sorry, I don't want to compare players from different seasons, because not only are the players that are different, but our style of play, the management, everything is very different. So the environment in which these players thrive on doesn't really make it comparable. It'd be unfair, really. And I would have to say is that if you look at players now, and I'm taking Pulisic as an example, for him to do what he's doing in this Milan, I think that's great. That's really amazing, scoring these goals, these opportunities, really when the team is not doing well, and in many games also lifting up the team. I think that's great. And what I don't like, and this is the comparison that I think the AC Milan social media team are doing, is that I don't know if you keep an eye on their Instagram account or any
No,
of their
I
social
don't.
medias.
No.
They keep posting about goals that were happening like what 20, 30 years ago now. Where are the goals that happened like a few years ago? And here's a spoiler that everyone knows: you can't, because we've been playing so poorly very recently that there's really nothing much to shout about or to post. That's
Yeah.
really how far that we've fallen. That even the social media team can't find content, recent content, to really support this club. So it's sad to say this, and in context as well, is that for Yong Hong Lee and Redbird Capital, the big difference, and I stand by what I say, even though the results at the end of the day weren't great, you can't deny that Yong Hong Lee wanted to win. He spent a lot of money. Okay, you could say that he spent it.
People shit.
Yeah, he spent it, but whatever or however he was scanned into buying those players, the amount
Yeah.
that he spent, he wanted to win.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at that time, and I still remember that when the lineup was announced and the players that we had bought, you could say on credit or on loans or whatever, uh, he- a lot of fans were genuinely excited, because previous to that, we were doing also quite bad. So any change would be welcome. Now we're in a situation where we've changed for the worse. So this is why we go back to the previous ownership. And
Yeah.
my own opinion as well is that you can't really turn back, because I think it's very clear at this point that Elliot don't want to be in that position anymore with regards to the club. So we have to look forward. And to look forward is not going to be anything clear, because yeah, as we've spoken about on several pods ago, the stadium project, how we're going to do with the revenues and all that, it's all up in the air. So until something major happens, we're just gonna have to live through it, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, completely agree with you. I mean, obviously, this is what I was saying. It's like you can do whatever you want with numbers. You can make anything look like you want it. Look carefully at this. Yong Hong Lee was on in charge for 2 seasons, and they managed to generate a points gap to first place of 59 points in just 2 seasons. Redbird is taking them 3 seasons to get there, but as I said, that
Hang on,
59 points is
John.
going to keep. Yeah,
We won the Super Copa under Yong Hong Lee, didn't we? I'm trying
I
to think
don't
back to it.
remember
The
that.
Montella
I
Super Copa.
genuinely don't remember
I
that.
think maybe we did. I don't know. Maybe the guys in
No,
the chat can remember. Did we win the Super Copa under Yong Hong Lee as well? Maybe it's
really.
exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's just like it's a point here. It's how easily people can, or if it was Milan that released that stat about Leao, I like just stop doing it, because we can easily just back to back other data. I'll show you something else which is really interesting. Goals conceded per season. So I've gone all the way back to the 2018 to the 2019 season. The season we won the league, 2021-2022, we conceded 31 goals. That was the best defensive performance, yeah, of any team in the league. Now watch what happens the following season. Remember that famous picture of Cardinale standing there with his weird thumb up? Well, that's when he bought us at the end of that season. People were celebrating the Scudetto. He comes along, buys us 2022-2023, 43 goals conceded. So we've gone up by 12 more. Then the following season, 49 goals conceded, which, by the way, was the worst defensive record, I believe, in the top 10 clubs in Serie A. And this season, we're already at 37, and we still have something like 6 games to go. Okay? So That's where you are. That's what's happening. If you want to stand there and tell me and talk about individual players and compare them to legends like Kaká, then I'm going to turn around to you and show you things like this, which is showing you that, what is it? I watched your podcast. So Max is now watching us. So hi, Max, how you doing? I was watching their podcasts, and shout out to MLM and Gino. And the discussion was Gino's Milanismo is, also part of a team that's based on defense. Well, look at this. This is another demonstration that Milanismo is being taken out of the club. 43, 49, and 37 so far, and counting. Hasni, any comment on this?
Yeah, I mean, it was expected, but beyond the goals that we conceded, last season we finished second, surprisingly. I don't know how that works, by the way. But this is a issue that has plagued us, and a few seasons ago I kept wondering, because when it comes to the mercato and the rumors that are floating, we always seem to be interested in defenders. This chart, I think, perfectly illustrates why. We've continuously, more often than not, we have a big issue when it comes to our defense. When we won the Scudetto, we had thought that we could continue with the Tomori Kalulu partnership, and maybe that would help us with our title defense. It didn't work out. Kalulu had a lot of injury issues, and now he's in Juve, and maybe looking at things, most likely will still play in the Champions League. So I honestly think, and if the rumors are to be believed as well about Allegri coming in, more than ever, we need a coach that can really organize our defense, because not only the number of goals that we concede, how we concede them is absolutely ridiculous. Everyone here who watches the games knows we concede in the most unexpected ways. And if you think it's an easy block or an easy interception, not for us. It's going to probably be a goal conceded, unfortunately.
Yeah, how you can go from Scudetto winning 31, we know who the DS and the DT were at the time, and then you get rid of everyone there. You have people that pretend that they know the club, pretend people that and you bring in managers that you think, managers who keep in managers who should have been got rid of, by the way. Once you reach your peak, you then have to see it. But the warning sign were in 2022, 2023 with 43 goals conceded. They were the warning signs. Carried on, kept it going, 49 goals conceded, and now, everyone was like, Conceição's coming in is really based on defense. Nope, absolutely not. And that's where we are right now. And as I said, 6 games to go. God knows where that number's gonna reach. Catch just some comments here. If someone wants to compare from Fahadin, if someone wants to compare players from different eras and then call them world class, let's compare achievements as well and then pass judgment. Yeah, Kachavit says you can't compare Leao to Kaká, the player, but I think sometimes you can compare him to the other Kaká. Kakaber Kalatze, you mean. Now, I'm not here to hate on Leao. That's not the point here. What I'm saying is that this is the club bringing this onto itself. If they want to be releasing information like that and saying that these players are world class because of their stats, and then bringing people and comparing them, and then other podcasters want to pick up on them and say Van Basten doesn't make this list because I like you're an absolute joke by doing that. Okay, this club is not doing well, and every statistic you can look at when you look at the club overall demonstrates that, right? And I just won't have an argument that you can't pull out. You just said it, Hasni. Pulisic on his own, he is doing very well. Yeah, I won't take that away. In such a crappy team, for him to be performing like that tells you he's probably a player that should be kept. Yeah, Leao, probably a player that should be kept. All the rumors in Italy is that he's going to be kept. Is he frustrating? Yes. Does he have that quality? Yes. Is he Kaká quality? Hell, get the F away from me, because I will give you an honest opinion if you want to start to put him next to somebody who's a genuine legend. I won't do it. I won't do it. But if Milan are going to throw out crap like that to us and people are going to pick up on it and discuss it, then I'm going to do the same to you. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Some news to discuss. Oh, yeah, Max, I agree with you. Stupid to compare players from different eras. Yeah, this is what causes it. Yeah, and Fahadinho wants me to do a comparison between Berlusconi's 3 years as an owner. Oh my God, no, don't do that. Fahadinho, no, don't do that. That's very, very unfair. We were having this discussion in the WhatsApp group. Hasni, do you want to say anything about the WhatsApp group before I finish this sentence?
Yeah. If anyone is interested in joining our WhatsApp group, please do DM us and on whichever social media we got. There we are on TikTok. Okay, I'm mentally not updated that often, but Instagram, I'm checking it on YouTube. You can even leave us a comments. We'll check that as well. And yeah, we'll add you into the WhatsApp group.
Excellent. So we were having this discussion in WhatsApp group about, we knew where Berlusconi bought Milan. We knew what he was actually trying to do. There was a bigger goal in terms of politically. But you know what? Don't care. We wouldn't be the Milan we are today without his intervention, without his spending, without what he did to the club. Yes, some people are annoyed that he sold us to Yong Hong Lee, but his ambitions are changed. His objectives are changed.
His
And
age, especially. I mean, think about the time that's passed when he bought us, like, what, 40 years ago? Over 40 years ago now. So you're definitely not going to get the
exactly.
same players over 40 years.
No, exactly. So it was his ambition and his vision that enabled us to get to where we are, and the legend of Milan continued to grow. A nice comment there by Max. He's paid super chat to get that up there. Sorry, that's a bad joke. I'll take that away. I'll take that back. Okay, so news. The first one is Mayor Sala is the entire stadium saga. Let me explain it to you. He says, se non ci muoviamo, rischio altissimo che il Milan vada a San Donato. So if we don't move, he says, there's a very high risk that Milan is going to go to San Donato. Now he's basically saying to the council, stop fighting this, stop arguing over, trying to make more money out of Milan and Inter. He is saying that Inter will go to Rozzano and the Milan will go to San Donato because they already spent money on San Donato. I think it is his attempt to try and get himself free from other people within the council to say, okay, look, we need to make some money. Some money's better than no money. Let's just move with this and sell. As a Milan fan, I know that this whole San Donato thing is garbage. It's just a threat. That's the only reason why it exists. There's also no way in the world that Inter have the money to be building their own stadium in a different site. There's also an admittance that Inter has no interest in buying the San Siro on their own. So it has to be a joint project. We know Redbird are cheapskates, so it has to be a joint project. It has to move forward. But the council are trying to fight it because they're not making a lot of money out of this. We had a discussion a few episodes ago that it's something like the equivalent of the land and the stadium together is the equivalent of something like 59 million euros each, which is comedy.
And
Hasni,
how
any
much did we
comment
pay
on
for
this?
San Donato? I think we paid about 30, I think, yeah, total.
30, 40, 30. I think it's over 40 actually
Yeah.
for the San Donato land. But it's a land grab. You can sell it for property development or whatever. It doesn't matter. But it was always there as a threat, and I never thought it was serious because you realize that he needed to change so much of the infrastructure. We talked about the train station. We talked about how much would need to be improved. That there's no way they would have over 1.5 billion euros to fix the whole thing. But yeah, we're getting to crunch time, Hasni. We're getting to crunch time. So Salah, all he's trying to do here is trying to get the councillors to be nervous so that they just agree to it.
Well, my perspective on it is that I don't think the councillors are swayed. Whatever this guy says is not going to happen. So, whereas everyone's trying to call each other's bluff, probably nothing's going to get done. And we will probably looking at another 10 years, probably when the stadium collapses during a game, that this issue will go on. Now, for the case of San Donato, yeah, we spoke about it in depth. But my gut feeling is that if something were to happen there, it wouldn't be under this ownership. Maybe another ownership might really be able to drive that harder. I don't know, but it does sound something like maybe more than a threat. This is just my gut feeling, because for it to be mentioned in this way, I mean, he could also play along with the other councils and retry to apply the squeeze on us if there really was another option. So maybe there's a little bit more to this story.
I think is also a typical thing, hasn't he, that the timing of this is very late in the day to have even gone in for a bid when you know that the second ring becomes of cultural significance by November. Why did they wait so long? Now they're really screwed. Everyone is screwed in terms of timings. Redbird they're between a rock and a hard place. If they were not serious about building a project, once the second ring becomes cultural significance, they're a bit effed up, to be honest. And Salah now is like, oh shit, I need to get this through. What can I say? What can I say? So that's where we are. Just a few comments. Max says, how much does it cost to comment again? Something like £1 million a comment, Max. That will do nicely. Thank you very much. Fahadinho says, guys, don't forget to like. Thanks, Fahadinho, for the reminder. Like and subscribe, everyone. Like and subscribe. Okay. Next item. The news has been full of this. New DS, new coach, BS presented by none other than Furlani. Special guests are Tare, Paratici, D'Amico, Ancelotti, Conte. Have you got any other names, Husney, that you want to throw out there?
The only name is a no name, meaning that nothing gets done. Which I keep saying this. I think maybe they'll take forever to decide, and we will not be with a new sporting director anytime soon.
So yeah, let's have the discussion here. It's become really obvious. The DS issue is being dragged. It's not real. There was never any seriousness around the Paratici thing. It's all to do with wasting time. In the meantime, Moncada, we in the know, he's going for training to become DS. Now, if we end up in a situation where no agreement can be had with anyone, then Moncada will just step in and be the DS, which will basically continue the status quo, or in other words, total chaos. Now, Tare is the latest name, and D'Amico is the latest name. Oh, Furlani's having dinner with this, Furlani's having dinner with that. It doesn't matter. He's simply looking for someone that he can control. Okay? He's looking for someone that will say to him, okay, you're going to be DS, you're going to be a name that our fan base recognizes, but you're not actually going to be able to do anything because we're going to tell you what to do. That's the key individual that Furlani wants. A stand-in figure. Now, maybe the question here is, why is Furlani the person making this decision? I don't know, because he is not a Milanista. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing. Really clearly doesn't know what he's doing. The club that's been running without a proper DS since the first acquisition by Redbird. On the coaching front, I remember last week the conversation was, let's renew Conceição, someone said. Okay. Ancelotti, really? Yes, Real Madrid got absolutely battered by Arsenal. Would Ancelotti step into this absolute chaos? We've had previous managers say in the press, Ancelotti's not even afraid of bears. He would walk straight into any, situation and would sort it out. It doesn't matter. He could turn around. I have seen legendary players from Milan go up to Forlani and say to him, you need to get some Italians. You remember there was a really famous interview and he was there in the studio and Filippo Inzaghi said to him, you need Italians because they'll fight harder for you. And, all Forlani did was just like raise his eyebrows, ignore him. What is the point of a club that's owned by people like this and controlled by people like this with a manager like Ancelotti or even Conte? Conte's another one. He's stirring the pot. I want to go to a club that's going to Be serious. Well, of course you do. Of course you do. He's doing an incredible job at Napoli. And at the start of the season, we all knew, what does Conte do? He squeezes the hell out of every single club. Yeah? That's the problem. I don't know, Hasni. What's your take on it?
Yeah, my honest opinion is that I do want Carlo to stay away from this club because I don't want him affected by the poison of what's going on. You're right about what Forlani and how he's really ignorant about everything that's going on. What he has, the only bullet that he has in his pistol, whatever small caliber pistol he's rocking, is really a letter signed by Elliot that he like probably waved in the face of Cardinale. And I don't know how much worth if that letter is still valid or not. So this is and if you look at his CV, this is essentially a business graduate or like what management consultant brought in to run a football club, and it's not the same as any other business. So this is why we're seeing these mistakes. What really upsets me is that through all these mistakes, no one has admitted what are the problems and really done things to fix them in a uh, in a significant way. Ibra, and we've spoken about this, Ibra is also part of the problem. Moncada is part of the problem. Nothing is being done. There's a lot of this culture to say that, oh, just because we have some wit about us that we know how to do everything and everyone else is wrong. So that's absolutely the wrong idea, as you mentioned, John. How then this affects our next coaching decision? It's probably going to be another mess. Let's go back all the way back to the beginning of the season, yeah, after Pioli left. What were the things that was told to fans? We would have a coach that's able to integrate the youth better, really develop talent, and introduce a new style of playing. We've got none of these things. Yeah, in the recent game, we moved to the 3-4-3, and I have to say this again. That has been tried. I'm just concerned that if it doesn't work against Atlanta, we're back to the same mess. Playing the 4-2-3-1, conceding left and right, not knowing what we'll do. This is the real fear that I have. One mistake, and it all comes tumbling down. Not that it's not down anyway, because we were ninth place. We were like back of the pack. So I'm not seeing any light to the end of the tunnel. I do want Conte, but Conte was also a name that was raised early on. A serious owner like the one that Napoli has will go out and empower a coach and decide, okay, just deliver me trophies and titles. That is not the sort of ownership that we have, unfortunately. So other than that, and I have to say it again, I wouldn't be surprised if we do continue with Conceição because this management don't know what they're doing.
Oh wow, that would be a shocker. I'll just read a few comments here, Hasni. It's a good spot to do it. So Max says, I'll be the sporting director. You just need to get to the games and pretend you care, right? Then just say yes to Forlani. Max, you couldn't be the sporting director because you would care. You couldn't stop yourself from caring, and you would try to do something about this. That's why you wouldn't be able to do the job. Kim says, the most honest Milanisti out of all the Milan English-speaking pods out there. No BS. Always stick to what you say. And like some of the other pods out there, keep it up, guys. Love you. Thanks, Kim. That's really nice. I would say one thing. When Paratici was suggested, we said openly, hell no. And we're not even going to discuss his achievements. Some other pods, instead of saying that, some other pods did turn around and say, well, okay, listen, if he comes in, look, he did well in this club and he did well. That's a demonstration that you don't really care. You just go along with anything that's being said. Why would you go along with someone like Paratici when it was really obvious that the guy's a fraud? This is, again, part of my complete lack of understanding and why I had to unsubscribe to several pods. Don't consider these people. Okay? Kachevit says it. Doesn't matter who comes in as long as this management is around. Because this management are meddling. That's the good word for it. They're meddling. Yeah? They will not leave people to do their job. Earlier on, I showed you that graphic about the points total to first place, the gap, the points total gap. And what you can clearly see is Elliot allowed people to do the work that knew what they were doing. They just said, we're not experts in this, so you do it. And lo and behold, what happens? the points to first place drops massively, right? Redbird comes along. We know how to do everything. We're going to put people in place who think they know how to do everything and make them do it. We're going to clean the slate completely and put these people in place. Lo and behold, the points gap to first place grows again because nobody knows what they're doing and everybody is being harmed. Okay? So there is no argument here that Kachavit is correct. Management needs to take a step back and let people do their jobs and put people in place who are competent. This is the only way. It's the only way. Fahadinho says, the question is, when will Forlani realize that everything he's done so far was wrong and a disaster? He must understand his limitations. He's simply not qualified as CEO or understands football. Again, advisor to Redbird, a new position created, Moronic Ibrahimovic. DT, a person who's not qualified, who just got the badge, who just got the qualifications, Moncada. DS, a fake one. Yeah. And then CEO, Forlani. Why? Because he fancied the job. That's where we really are right now, if you think about it. And yeah, Max, you're right. Management couldn't run a bath. That's a great English saying. Yeah.
But John, on the pitch, it actually is more of that, right? Because if I understand that each coach that comes in, they bring in the entire coaching staff. So on a pitch level, we're looking at a completely different setup as well. So to change it in the span of 1 year, 3 times from what's his name? Fonseca to Conceição to wherever this
Pioli's,
new
yeah.
guy is.
Yeah.
It's more than a mess at this stage, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's a question of like, what is your objective? The objective is not sporting. The objective is what Kachavit says, balance sheet. If you're running a club on balance sheet, then everything they've done makes sense, I suppose. From a sporting perspective, it doesn't, because sporting revenues are diminishing every season in. As I said, I'm going to repeat this. If we finish below sixth place, it will be the worst finishing position, worse even than Yong Hong Lee. Just think about that for a second. And then somebody tell me, looking at the stats we showed today, tell me we're not in a banter era. I want anyone to say we're not in a banter era. Can you argue for that, Husney, that we're not in a banter era?
Yeah. At minimum,
Right.
we're banter era form. I
Yeah.
don't know what miracles can be pulled. I don't think any, but yeah, we're there already.
The sporting results, the stats speak for themselves. We're there. We've achieved it. Congratulations. So, the next story. This has been on the news. So there's an investigation ongoing at the moment, and the head of the Milan Ultras, Luca Lucci, has been interviewed, and he's come out with some really kind of worrying comments. I had no concept of this. So he said that why are Milan acting like they are the victims in this? They knew very well that the ultras were running, for example, security at Milanello. And the other thing he said, we also collected players from nightclubs when they finished late or if they needed someone. So they were like chauffeurs picking up players and bringing them back to Milanello. So he said, I've got the messages, I've got them saved. Milan are implicit with what we were doing. Incredible things that are coming out. I guess he's kind of like, I'm going to come out fighting, I'm going to come out swinging and tell everybody some facts. Does any of this surprise you, Husney?
I am, but I didn't know that in terms of the linkage. I knew that, I've heard this before, that the Kova is being paid by the club. I did hear that. But in terms of them running security and essentially being so close to behind the scenes of what the players are up to, I mean, yeah, if you needed a big media expose about the players, it could possibly just turn one of these Curva guys around with a decent amount of money and ask him to really spill what goes on behind the club. That could be quite damaging. So I was surprised. Okay, you can't trust players that much to really behave all the time, I guess. But you would expect that there to be some sense of discipline in terms of how they are outside of the club. But yeah, bound to be bad apples everywhere. I mean, if we talk about some of the very serious cases about assaults that happens in other leagues and other clubs, so that does happen. Some players have even been jailed. But to this extent, I didn't expect it here. Maybe that should be one of the criteria about bringing in players, or they have a certain, how can I say, personality disorder. But knowing this
Hmm.
management, they probably won't look out for that as well.
I mean, when you see stuff like this, you kind of go, okay, now you get why the Curva is so quiet and so late to make comments, because it seems like they're so interlinked. They must clearly be making some money out of the club, that they probably something has to get very drastic for them to make comments like they did against Scaroni. And again, I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, why would anybody ever back Scaroni, Husney? Why would anybody ever think that he's represents us as the fans? He does not. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing. Um, it's quite a
Well,
strong statement, actually, for the ultras to come out the way they did last week, and we discussed, right? It's really strong.
what- I think part of the problem is that, and we've seen this in a lot of statements, not just the only statement from the ultras or a member of the ultras, but from their, can I say, their official statements in social media saying that they've also hit the limit. If we talk about the guys who are supposed to be closest to the club, they're also really fed up with how things are going. It
Mm,
would be the only way to keep these guys happy by winning on the pitch. That's definitely not happening. So we're starting to see many different things unraveling. What worries me about this ultras involvement is that there is that criminal element. I mean, we can talk about problems on the pitch, but
yeah,
problems off the pitch of this magnitude, no one needs it. And this will be one of the many nails in the coffin about how this team is doing, because that completely distracts us from the football focus.
yeah. No, I completely agree with you. It's a scary thought that you've got a club where you've got ultras driving players back to back to them after a nightclub finish. I've just got this image of Theo after what he did, being driven back, or running security at Milanello. What on earth? Security from what? Themselves? Questionable, right? Um, no,
From
very interesting.
from other clubs. Can you
Yeah.
imagine, like, they turn up at the club and they're like Inter players there? I mean, what's going to happen?
No, I doubt it very much. No. Anyway, this is going to rumble on because the investigation continues. So we'll be hearing more comments, I'm sure, from this guy. The fact that he says he's kept the messages, obviously, it's a threat to the club itself. So he kind of like, hey, you deal with this now. Now that I've said this to the press, we'll see. Fahadinho's put a comment in here saying Oak Tree took note on what Redbird did wrong. They did not change the management and just focused on their expertise, which is managing the finances and allowing the football experts to do their job. Yeah, a big chunk of it was also Gazidis, right? And saying, look, Gazidis knows what he's doing. He's done it. Our Arsenal has proven himself. I'm very grateful to the way Gazidis turned the club around. Now, um, oh yeah, Oak Tree. Oak Tree. We're talking about the guys that own Inter, isn't it? Yeah, you're right, Fadinho. Sorry, I'm wrong. You're absolutely right. So Oak Tree. I was thinking more. What's the Elliot? That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of Elliot. Because I've got a comment on Elliot actually. But Oak Tree, basically, yeah, you're right, Fahadinho. They looked at what Redbird screwed up and said, no, we're not doing that. Let's learn from it and make what's that guy, the club president of Inter,
Morata.
um, Marotta.
Yeah.
Let's make Marotta the club president at Inter because he's shown what he's capable of. And lo and behold, Inter in the Champions League semi-final, a very good spot to potentially win the whole bloody thing. They're in the semi-final of the Coppa
Yeah, they
d'Italia,
could do the
and
tripletta, yeah.
they are joint top of Serie A. It's incredible. It is. But you're right. All you have to do was look at Redbird and think that's actually a mistake. You can't go in there and reinvent the wheel, and they've just learned from it. Yeah,
So
I can't take away the fact that I think Cardinale's arrogance has killed us, hasn't it?
yeah, on that point, John, when it came to Elliot, I don't think they did everything right, but what they did is that they kept a good blend of management. So Gazidis, yeah, I guess Gazidis deserves some credit because yeah, we did win the Scudetto and all that. But I do remember the days when we were looking at the post. What was that scammer's name? That coach that we had. Fuck, I don't remember his name.
A
Gianpaolo.
scammer.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when
geez.
we had
Oh, he was
Gianpaolo,
7 games. Yeah.
yeah, and we got rid of him. Pioli came in as an interim manager. And if you remember, the discussions at that point is that we wanted to bring in Ragnick for the long term.
Mm.
So if the rumors were to be believed, Ragnick would actually be the long-term coach for the new season, and he would essentially rebuild everything. But Maldini and Massara campaigned for Pioli to be remain in charge, and we went on that unbeaten run, and we were back to the Champions League and all that up to the point of Scudetto. So
Yeah.
that blend of management, that there aren't yes men within the group, I think plays a big part in correcting and pointing out mistakes and really trying to agree a solution that works in the best interest of the club, rather than Gazidis taking it his own way and we would have Ragnick by now. I don't know what would happen there, or Maldini purely in charge. That blend, I think, is really missing there.
No, no, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So there's a couple of things I want to point out here. Elliot, right? So Elliot, they're not without fault in the whole situation, right? Some would say Elliot are the masterminds behind everything that's been going on. Yong Hong Lee borrowed money from Elliot in the first place. So Elliot have actually been around since that time. And perhaps you could say that Elliot did the research on Yong Hong Lee, realized that these guys would pay out money, default. Elliot would get the club back, then they would have ownership of it, straighten it around, and then sell it again to someone who matches a profile of a Yong Hong Lee in terms of not really being able to pay, but pay off chunks. So they're constantly making revenues, but then the club will come back to them again. And I mean, obviously, this massive loan that they gave Redbird means that they have a strong standing in the actual management of the club. Furlani is obviously a former Elliott man. The chief financial officer is an Elliott man. So they have a big imprint in what's going on. They're not without fault in this. Yes, during that central, when they were actually owners, they seemed to say, like Oak Tree, we don't know this. We're going to put people in place who do. But every time they sell the club to someone else, they take their hands completely off pretty much and say, you guys carry on, but the priority must be finances. And so if the person is incompetent, the sporting ambition collapses, but the finances stay stable. So Elliot are not without fault in this, hasn't he?
Yeah,
It's,
because
you
they need
can't just,
their loan to be paid. That's the most important to them.
that's right. So they are also part of the problem. And I don't see Elliot moving off the club. Someone literally would have to buy it clean off them.
Yeah,
And
and that I think that's what InvestCorp really were gunning for, because you remember about after the Scudetto win, there's a lot of news about InvestCorp wanting to see all the documents. They signed that agreement about exclusivity over a certain period of time where they were doing due diligence on the club. I don't think Elliot really wanted any of that. Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of us do actually still suspect, and there's a lot of this in the Italian press, that Elliot still have a lot of control around the club. Would you be surprised if they still did? Because they still are owed over 400 million euros.
No, they have to. Any business. I mean, if you're lending out money to someone, you probably want to know about how this guy's working to pay it off, right?
I mean, if someone owned 50% of my business, they would have a board seat at very
Yeah.
minimum. So I don't understand why anybody thinks that Elliot are completely hands off. They're not completely hands off. Abdi's here and he says, guys of faith, if we win against Atalanta, top four is on. All right. Okay, good for you.
Yeah, well, Abdi, we not only need to win against Atalanta, we need to win against everyone else as well. We've got 6 games left. And even that doesn't guarantee us top 4.
Yeah. And what happens if we lose to Atalanta, Abdi? Are you going to come back next week and say, if we beat the next opponent, we'll make top four? You
Have
are, aren't
faith
you?
for next season.
Yeah, there you go. It's just a strange attitude. There was one last point that I wanted to cover, which is the futuro. Now, there's a very interesting thing that's happened. Massimo Oddo came in. If you recollect, they fired Bonera and they brought in Oddo, who was doing quite well. I can't remember the club. I think he might have come from Pescara, but he's come in and they've won the last 3 games. Now, that's interesting. Unfortunately, it's too late for the Futuro to come out of that playoff zone, but it means that they're not bottom. So they're not going to get automatically relegated. They're going to have to go into a playoff for survival. Okay. But there's 2 things that are coincided here. Oddo's arrival basically coincided with Milan falling out of the Champions League, which meant that those young Italian players didn't have to be shifted out of the Futuro constantly to fill up. You remember the conversation we always have, Hasni?
Yeah,
You
I
needed to
do.
have the quota of homegrown players to be able to pick the players for the Champions League games. So once we went out of the Champions League, Camarda and the rest of them fell back into the Futuro project. And lo and behold, because they're integrated, because they're under a better manager, but because they're not constantly on a bus or on a plane, traveling from one site to the other, playing the day before and then coming back in, they are suddenly winning. So the question is, would Milan Futuro have done better under a stable and proficient coach? The answer is, I think, probably yes. Yeah, but the
Definitely
issue,
yes. See how
well,
Bate is doing.
this is the issue, Hasni. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's just down to Oddo. No, it's also down to the fact that Conceição stopped meddling with those young players and let them be where they were supposed to be. And so they're finally able to train together and play together. There were moments when, what was his place before Oddo? Who was the name? Bonera. When Bonera
Yeah,
said,
but,
I can't pick a squad when I'm told the morning of the match that Camarda is coming back. How can you do that? How can you prepare for a game that way?
oh, Bonera talks a lot of shit. It's not like even if Camarda was around from day one, he would have been able to do anything. Camarda is not a high caliber coach. I'm just so surprised it took them that long to get rid of him. He wasn't there for
Bonera, yeah.
Bonera. He wasn't there for Primavera's rise up until leading
right.
towards the establishment of Futuro. He's not going to be there when Futuro does anything of significance. So he's just shifting the blame to someone else.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to mention that because it's quite painful to see that you've got the last 3 wins. We've moved away from bottom place, but there's no chance for us, catching the safety, which means they're going to have to go into a playoff. So good luck to the Futuro kids. Good luck to them. Nobody wants to see.
But that being
You know,
said, John, if we look at the
kids sold.
points, and I think to exit the bottom for the playoff zone,
Yeah.
we're not too far off. So had a change been made earlier, we might not be having this conversation. So that's how sensitive things were in Futuro, and how this management, through lack of acting or through indecision, has led us to be in the situation. I mean, Oddo could have been there, mid-season even? Why not, right?
Yeah. It's a mirror image of exactly what happened with the senior squad. Everything's been left too late, hasn't he? Everything's been left until panic station. Everything's panic station. So, a couple of comments here. Actually, Hasdi, do you want to open up the lines or not?
Yeah, let's open them up. I'll post them. Let me see the link.
So, just reading a comment here. Abdi, if we lose to Atalanta, it's all over because I don't want Conference or Europa League. All right, Abdi. Let's. I'll hold you to that, okay, mate? If we don't beat Atalanta, then this conversation, I don't want to hear any more from you saying top 4 is possible. All right. Battling for 4th place isn't Milan. No, it is not. The other question and the other, I guess, general discussion to talk about is: have you heard about the transfer window in the summer? About the huge number of players that are possibly on their way out? You must
I
have
have,
seen
but
that.
I think the jury's still out in terms of which players. So I did quite recently hear that Mike is probably on his way out, but I think there's still a lot of movement to decide whether players are indeed on their way out, or there's still that last chance to decide whether they're going to make a decent renewal offer for the players that are already on our payroll. For the
But this is
outgoing
where,
ones, yeah.
yeah, go on.
So
Go
for the
on.
outgoing ones, I think that's pretty much set up. My concern, and it's always been my concern over the past few seasons already, the players that are coming back from loan. We have a lot of players out on loan actually that we, for some reason, we've not been managed. We haven't managed to sell because no one thinks very highly of these players anyway. And we do it to other clubs as well. We like to loan and with the option to buy and all that. So there's two sides to that issue: players that we have wanting to leave, and also the players that come back on loan and we don't know where to put them at.
Yeah, but the other thing about this and why everything is stalling and the excuse that the club is giving is because there's no DS in place. So all of a sudden, DS is everything to us, right? We went for 2 seasons without a proper DS, but all of a sudden, a DS is the reason why the entire summer transfer window, why nobody's been renewed, by the way, as well. Press releases coming out, trying to make Manyan look bad, and the fact that he doesn't want to renew, he hasn't put pen to paper. The truth is that the club has not put pen to paper. They've got an agreement in principle. They've had it for months. Yeah. But now they're using, Furlani, I'm sure, is using the DS as an excuse to stall everything. Because they have to, basically, they're going to wait till the end of the season and then assess. And it will be too late by then. Because you think about pre-season that's necessary, if you're going to be buying players, you don't want to be doing what you did last summer. One thing has become quite clear, hasn't he? It's an admittance that the last 2 transfer windows were panic stations and terrible. Yeah, they're basically admitting to their failures now, and they're having to replace players. The fact that they're talking about Italians being necessary, it doesn't matter to me because I don't trust these guys bringing in the right Italians.
Yeah, they could
but
bring it. And
they,
one other
they
thing
could
that
bring
they have
anyone.
to put special attention on is that we do have talent in our Futura, our younger players. So names like Kamada, I don't know what's the plan for him, if there even is a plan. I think there's been some news about Bartazagi, him maybe wanting to leave. Oh, we have Kim.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, Kim.
Ciao, Kim.
Welcome.
Ciao.
Hey, buona Pasqua to you guys.
Buona
Yeah, happy
Pasqua,
Easter
Kim.
Sunday.
Happy Easter. Yeah. How's it going? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
We
about
are,
our Mercato, potential Mercato
yeah.
for summer.
You know, the thing
Uh,
we're talking about Kim is the fact that it looks like half the squad is basically open and available to be sold, but nothing is being done, nothing is concrete, no one is being re-signed either, because Furlani is now suddenly saying that DS is important. Oh, he's gone. He's dropped out. He's probably
Maybe on
trying to
his
call him. He's probably trying
Yeah,
to call him from his
maybe he's on
car.
his phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that point, and this is what I was concerned about. We also need to have a plan for our younger players, because who is it that we have in Monza? Is it Zeroli?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Zeroli. I don't know what's going to happen to him as well. So it's a good move that he's playing top tier football. I mean, in the Serie A, albeit in the bottom team, but at least he's getting some exposure, some minutes, and he's been, I think, subbed on quite a few times. But we need to have those sort of deals. Other than that, oh, Kim is back. Let's add him. Hi, Kim.
You're right, Kim.
hey. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I'm using my phone.
Okay.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kim, go
Because it
on. Say
opens
your
up a new,
piece.
it opened up a new tab and it just refreshed and just got me out of it.
Nice.
Yeah, look, uh, as I said before, like, it doesn't matter who we bring in. It's not going to change anything. That's how I'm looking at it. And yeah, always there's new news each day. Yeah, you don't know what to believe. So it's just like, yeah, it is what it is.
So, Kim, this is a question to you and everyone on the chat, and you as well, Husney. But I'll start with you, Kim, since you're our guest. What's your opinion if Furlani, Moncada, Ibra are still there at the start of the next season, what are you going to do in terms of, you know, supporting this club and watching this club? I'm really curious how you all going to react to it.
Oh, if they're staying, then I'm
Oh, we lost him again.
I suggest that Kim buys himself a new phone
No, maybe it's the connection as well.
and he stops going to McDonald's Wi-Fi. It's too far. It's too far. The signal is going from Australia to Malaysia to England.
The UK. Yeah, we're
It's
crossing
too
3
far, man.
continents.
It's too far, man. It can't do it. Can't do it. The kangaroos don't go that fast.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Is he now?
Yes, you're back, Kim.
he did it again. I'm on my phone.
Mate, get a new phone.
No, I know. No, I don't know what it is. Oh, look, if that's the case, I'm not gonna watch it because that's just taking another level of taking the piss, pretty much.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
and if nothing
Yeah.
changes, especially, then what's the point? Why should I care if they don't care?
What would you do, Kim, if they brought in a sporting director and they brought in, let's just say, out of interest, Allegri? Would that change anything for you at all?
It's still not going to change anything. It's still got the same morons
Yeah.
in charge. Yeah.
So that's how I feel as well, Kim. So I completely agree with you. And Kachovic says, I'm scared if they are running the show at the start of next season. What do you
Oh,
make, Hasni?
100%.
Yeah. So we kind of agree on that. What do you think, Hasni, if they brought in a really defensive manager like Allegri and a sporting director, and they promised you, Hasni, that they are going to give them control? Would you give them any leeway?
Not at all. So we can't. Firstly, we can't believe anything they say. Secondly, whoever wants to come to this club, I want to really know what their objectives are and what the project is. If their objective is just going to be top four, I think we're probably back in the same mess. But if they're saying that they want to rebuild the club, handle transfers, which I doubt will happen, by the way, then I would have a little bit more confidence. I do see them hiring maybe another coach, but a manager like Allegri or like Conte, I honestly don't think that they'll agree to. This management cannot let any control slip from their grasp, because that will be an opportunity for someone to tell them that they're wrong, and they don't like that.
Very good. No, I completely agree with you guys. I was just trying to think as you were talking about what could potentially make me more interested, and I can't see it. I'm sorry to say, I can't see it. That's terrible, isn't it? What do you make of the rumors of? I don't believe them for a second. Before I say anything else, Maldini and the stuff he's stirring up in the Middle East. Do you think it's just a constant BS again, or do you think something is behind it? Kim.
Okay.
Oh, look. We all hope it's true. I mean, it could be possible because, yeah, how many trips has he made to Dubai these past few weeks or months? Who knows?
Yeah.
If that's the case, then yeah, it could be very possible. That's what I'm hoping for.
And Hasni, have you got any contacts, mate? Have you got any stories from the inside?
I don't, but what I do see, and if you listen to the podcast that he's been making and the questions that have been asked for him, I do sense there is bitterness. So if a player that truly, if a former player that truly loves the club and legend that he is, really would want to get back at this ownership, I think he knows how to do it. Really rally the support, and it's been done before, yeah. So there have been former players that have banded a bunch of investors and actually bought on clubs. I think one of the big examples is actually LA Galaxy. I think Beckham did the same thing, yeah. So he just pulled together a bunch of investors and took on the club in the what do you call it there in the States? Whatever league they call it there. So MLS.
Oh, MLS, yeah.
So it is possible, but those sort of discussions take a lot of time. And in the end of the day, if Elliot doesn't want to sell, or if Elliot still wants to be part of the project, for whatever reason, there's going to be a big resistance there. But for me, I'll have faith. If something can be done there, then I hope it's going to be Maldini behind it.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping too. Obviously, for me, that's the only way this gets any better. It was a very interesting conversation. I like to listen to people talking about what their view of Milanismo is. I think it's very interesting. Our fan base has got so many different characters. It tells me a lot, I think, when I hear people talking about their Milanismo and what it means to them. It's a very deep concept, but Kim, you know something? We never heard you, mate. Your definition of Milanismo. Do you wish to share it?
My definition of Milanismo.
Yeah.
It's the colours for me, and how I grew up supporting the club. Yeah, and just Italians. That's what I think.
Yeah. So, first of all, then, the colours. They have been.
Hello, Abdi.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, shit.
now Cacciavita's going to be like, I need to jump on. I'm at work, but I need to jump on, man. Come on, Abdi, say your piece.
Yeah.
What have you got to say, Abdi?
Yeah, listen, I'm not gonna lie, this season has been like it's been an anomaly. Like I'll be honest with you, you see in the banter era, like our squad was just not good enough. Like we were deep trash. But this squad is not banter era worthy, if you feel what I mean. And that
Yeah. So on that, Abdi. Oh, he's gone.
He
On
popped
that,
out. Okay.
what is wrong with these people? Like, honestly, everyone needs to get out of McDonald's Wi-Fi. Kim, stop calling us from McDonald's, and also, Abdi, get out of Wendy's wherever you are. All right, and get yourself some proper phones. Oh man, I needed to.
Jesus.
No, but that's fine. His point is taken. You know, he said it's not a banter era squad. I get it. Yeah, under Yong Hong Lee, the guy literally bought shite. Yeah, and it was a very very weak squad that couldn't have done any better. The biggest frustrating thing for us is that we do see talent in this squad. There is a few spots of highlights.
He's back.
Yeah, so we do
Yeah.
see a few talented players in the squad. I don't disagree with Abdi on that. I think this squad should be better than 9th place. I don't disagree on that at all. The problem is, Abdi, is the way this club has been run. It's been allowed to get to this stage. And how this is my discussion with these guys is what would make you happy in the summer, you being a younger fan, what will make you happy in the summer in terms of changes at management level? What, a new coach or a new sporting director? Would that be enough for you?
really and truly, like if they can get a good sporting director with Serie A experience, has won stuff, and they can go and get us a good established coach, preferably, I know this is a long shot, but preferably Carlo Ancelotti, because now he's leaving Madrid, he's gonna be free. There's literally no harm in trying to pursue Carlo. If they can just leave the sporting director alone, let him do his thing, just give him the money he needs, give him his budget, and tell him this is what you're working with, and stay out of his affairs and stay out of the manager's affairs, then I'm more than happy. But if they keep incorporating Ibrahimovic into everything, Forlani and Moncada, like that's where it just messes up. You know, like how on earth can you go and get yourself Morata, knowing his track record? How can you go and get yourself Emerson Royale, who's just hot trash? Like they've shown their level of incompetence. So just keep your mouth quiet, get a sporting director, let him do the rest. Don't get involved. Simple. And get yourself an established manager. Or if Conceição manages to salvage the season to get top 4 and wins us Coppa Italia, then keep him. No harm. But just stay out of people's way. It's simple.
So, guys, you can't disagree with that, can you? You can't disagree with
Nah,
that. Yeah. So
nah.
the problem here is meddling. It's that word we used earlier on. Is that this ownership, and this is why you, Kim, this is why you, Husney, you have no trust, right? No matter who they bring in, that nothing will change. It's because the 3 seasons since they've come in, every season these people have put their oar into every single decision. They've not allowed coaches to do their thing. They've brought in coaches that were yes men. We all knew why Fonseca came in. We all knew from day one, oh shit, this guy's come in because he's just going to agree with anything Ibrahimovic and Moncada tell him, and he'll just work with it.
Yep.
Pioli was the same. He was kept on a year too long because he was going to be a yes man. He was going to say, I'll deal with whoever's given to me. It's the same thing here. Why talk about bringing in a sporting director unless you're trying to change something and give them control? Unfortunately, the evidence is they will continue. And what they're going to do now, the reason why they're looking for particular individuals is because they're looking for individuals that will be yes men to them. Now, if that continues, Abdi, I'm afraid to say,
Yeah.
this is the status quo. And that's why you understand all of us are extremely frustrated, right? And angry. I don't disagree with your
100%.
point at all. I don't disagree with your point at all that the playing squad is better than ninth place. If you had
Yep.
a manager like Gasperini allowed to do his job with this squad, we would not be ninth,
Yep.
right? But then
100%.
again, that manager would have to be backed in the transfer window, and he probably would never have gone for Morata, right? He would
Exactly.
never have gone. I mean, Chicken Royale is a criminal. Yeah, these days there's more pictures of him in a supermarket than there is of him actually playing football. It's embarrassing. So it's funny, to everyone on the chat. We take pleasure in laughing at younger fans, but actually, this kid, in this sense, in this discussion, you can't disagree with that, can you, Kim?
No, spot on.
There you
Absolutely. I
there you go.
mean, you remember with the last management, remember when Gazidis and Maldini were working together? Yes, they didn't see eye to eye, but guess what? They let them both do their jobs respectfully, and they didn't interfere with them. And how did that work out? It worked out good.
Yeah, exactly. And no, that's exactly the point. Kachavit, the squad isn't built properly because of the same problem, meddling. The squad isn't built properly because you had a guy in Furlani saying, there's an opportunity, Morata. There's an opportunity, Sultanali. Who, by the way, I've heard pretty decent rumors that Real Madrid are sniffing around him. Now, that would be a very interesting acquisition for them. So, no, Abdi, thanks for calling in and and sharing your thoughts. That was, I know you're having problems with your phone. I suggest next time try better internet, maybe Cafe Nero or someone like that. But yeah, thanks for sharing your opinion on that. And I can't disagree with what you said, honestly. Kim, anything else you want to say? Get you off your chest.
Uh, no, just can't wait for this season to finish, see what more shit is supposed to happen.
Yeah, what do you reckon tonight, mate? You gonna watch it?
Probably not.
Oh wow, that's
I don't know
painful.
what's the point?
I'm gonna watch it out of curiosity for the formation against Gasparini. That's literally what I'm curious about. Is I want to see how they cope with, and the fact that Retegui 23 goals in 30 games. Wow, that's out of this world. I want to see how that guy's doing.
I may keep an eye on the score because at the same time the F1 should be on or should be nearly finished by the time.
Oh, I think it's. Oh yeah, it's where is it? Bahrain.
It's in Saudi,
No,
in Jeddah.
Saudi, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Apparently Dino said in the comments something about Maldini being in Dubai because he usually goes to the F1 race in Saudi. I saw.
Okay. Well, let's hope the rumors on Maldini are true and that he's actually looking for something. Although I think Fahadinho might be correct. He's just really likes holidaying there and seeing the Grand Prix. Yeah, Kachavit says, I just need Abdi to understand Milanismo. Kachavit, my opinion on that, I'm just going to tell you, I think it's very difficult. I think it's very difficult for a new generation to pick up on Milanismo. I think it's really tough. But, glad the kid called in. Oh, there he is. He's here again.
Yeah,
Did you
I'm just
move
on my
to...
laptop now, innit? Because my phone will
Oh,
just kept
you're on your
cutting out.
laptop. Oh, good, good. You
Yeah.
didn't move from McDonald's to Cafe Nero.
Good one.
Abdi, honestly,
Yeah,
I don't know how old you are. I'm gonna guess you're
yeah,
young. The youngest person in our WhatsApp group is probably like 22 or something like that.
yeah. I'm 21.
Um, you're even younger than that. So
Yeah.
for your generation, now you tell me. I'm really genuinely curious about this because I'm old
Mm.
enough to be your dad. Genuinely, I am.
Damn. Okay.
What is Milanismo to you, Abdi? I'm
Oh,
not your dad, by the way.
damn. Yeah, 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 of course. Yeah. For me, Milan is. I'm not gonna lie. Like the most success I've seen from Milan was literally the Maldini Pioli era. That's it. Like for me,
Wow.
when I was growing up, all I knew was Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar. Milan being in the dumpster, Serie A nowhere to be found whatsoever.
Hmm.
Like we were nothing. Like I knew nothing about Milan. For me, I
Yeah.
started watching Milan consistently in lockdown 2020. I started watching them. So
Okay.
you know, for me that season, I think we finished second. It was a season we finished second,
Hmm.
and for me, I was like, okay, damn, like how have Milan been in like the dumpster like this bad? Like I wasn't quite sure why we were so bad, even though we finished second. And then from then on, I saw us win a Scudetto, go to semi-final of Champions League. It was absolutely phenomenal. But then the next season came after we finished second, which was
Hmm.
quite respectable, to be fair. Um, and then now we're in ninth. It's like, boy, I can't believe it. Like we're not ninth place worthy whatsoever. So
Yeah.
is just shocking, really. And it's like for me, some of the blame has to go to Conceição because how has it taken him this long to find a system that fully works? So it's like
Yeah.
I have to look at Conceição a little bit, even though I didn't really want to because he was just put into the fire immediately, even though he won us a trophy. Although that trophy isn't really significant in the grand scheme of things, I'm just, so angry. Like, how have we wasted so long playing this dumb 4-2-3-1, persisting with it,
Hmm.
losing all the time to now,
Okay.
having a 3-4-3, winning comprehensively 4-0. Questions have to be asked.
Yep. So Abdi, thanks for sharing that. So this is the first thing is you joined in 2020. Really, you're not from, I'm going to guess, a family of Milan supporters where several generations have been supporting the club.
Ooh,
Um,
well, yeah, I am. You see, my brothers are quite older than me, and
yeah.
one of them is Inter, one of them is Milan, one of them is Juve, and another one of them is Milan. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
they've been watching football since the 1990s, 1980s. So they were watching it when Serie A was like at the top, at the pinnacle,
Yeah. So
where like the Premier
you
League
don't get
was nothing.
Milanismo from them, do you think?
Oh yeah, like you see what I mean? Like I didn't witness it, so it's hard for me to
Yeah. There you go.
resonate with it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
And
so it's like,
so now, Abdi, you need
mm,
to get. So this is what I think a lot of people want to kind of get you to understand is
mm,
most of us on here are 40 plus. Yeah.
damn,
Yeah, and so we went just like your eldest brothers. We
mm,
went through that. We saw that. We saw the glory days that were in front of us, and so
yeah,
we know what Milan is. We know why people join our club. It's
mhm,
because those trophies are held in front of them. People are taken to the museum and said, "Join us," because
yeah,
this is what Milan is, right? So part of Milanismo is expecting excellence all the time. That's part of
yeah,
my definition of Milanismo. So Abdi,
yeah,
you're a Milan fan. From everything I'm hearing, you're a
mm,
Milan fan. But what you should start to really expect is excellence, right? So if Conceição is doing a shit job, don't be afraid to say so. Don't back the team no matter what they do, right? Because that isn't Milanismo. Milanismo is saying the truth when it needs to be said. If someone is shit, they're shit. They're not good enough. They're not to the standard of our club and how it should be. Now, you can also say, listen, it's modern day Milan. We're not ninth. You just said it yourself, Abdi. We're not ninth quality. The team is badly built, badly managed, but whose fault is that? So point the finger at whose fault that is, and
The
you know it
management,
is, Abdi.
100%.
100%. So I just got a message. We need to tie up. Guys, honestly,
Yeah.
thank you for calling in. Really
No,
nice
no
to meet
worries.
you, Abdi. Right?
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man.
Keep it up, man. And we'll keep up the conversation in future podcasts. All right, guys?
All right.
Forza
Yeah.
Milanismo, everyone. I'll keep saying it. And thank you all for joining us today, right?
All right.
Ciao
Thank
tutti.
you.
Great.
All
Forza
right.
Milan. Thanks,
Forza
Kim. Thanks,
Milanismo.
Abdi. Thanks.
Forza Milanismo.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Che comunque il calcio è imprevedibile e le cose non sono mai scontate, quindi è anche la bellezza, no, di questo sport.
Io rappresentavo per questa squadra, era quello che non mollava mai, quello che doveva fare stare sempre su il morale, ma io mi ci trovavo bene perché sono sempre stato uno che mi piaceva dare fuoco ai miei compagni, caricarli prima delle partite.
Il mio sogno di Saverato è uno dei sogni dei bambini, di tanti bambini.
Il gol è un qualcosa per la gente che riusciamo a fare diventare matti, riusciamo a fare diventare felici e contenti.
Con questa maglia devo veramente fare